So why was I against RV life initially? Initially, when Shannon brought up RV life to me, I shot it down because it was kind of before the pandemic and remote jobs weren't as viable as they are now. I wasn't sure how we'd make a living to afford things out on the road. And that wasn't even before I even thought about, was it even legal, right? Like, what are the laws around traveling? Where do you consider your primary residence when your primary residence is, on a trailer hitch traveling around the country with you? And what happens if something breaks or something goes wrong? Like, how can I fix it? How do I repair it? I'm used to having a garage or a shed full of tools and different parts and bits, bolts that I can just use to repair things typically, or manufacture, or just somehow fabric cobble something together. While we're on the road, I'm not sure I'll have that. In fact, I'm pretty sure I won't have that. Because we have to think traveling, right? Lightweight, small spaces, no extra storage. That was a major consideration for me initially. I have a lot of stuff, and that's a lot to downsize. And I kind of have a hoarding type of personality of like, one day I'll use this, puts it in a drawer, and a year later I still haven't touched it. 3 years later, still haven't touched it. 5 years later, still haven't touched it. Like, that's my type of personality. And I'm trying to work on it, but it's a lot of work to try and fix something like that. Another thought I had is, am I good enough? What if I miscalculated something? Or if I misunderstood the way something was worded? I thought I was doing something right, but it wasn't. Am I smart enough to run a successful business? Because that's how we plan to financially support ourselves while on the road, is running a candle business. If I can't run a good business, then how will I support myself? We do plan to put out good product, and we're definitely gonna keep our morals right. But what if people don't buy it? What if we run into like a recession? Because candles aren't the thing that people buy when money's tight, right? It's kind of an extra item. That's just a huge fear I have going into the future of like, what if I can't financially support us? And what if while we're traveling, we find out that one of us prefers living more of a nature lifestyle and the other one, like myself, prefers more of computers and tech and wants to spend more of our free time doing the opposite thing? Don't get me wrong, I like taking nature walks and exploring nature and all that, and she likes playing games with friends on the internet, same as I do. But what if this draws a wedge between us? And I guess that's kind of a similar thought that a lot of relationships have, especially earlier on. I'm afraid of that, right? Like right now, she's my favorite person. And what happens if we grow apart? And what happens if we grow apart from this lifestyle? What if we don't like traveling as much as we thought we would? What if we get bored of it? All the hassles that might come with it. Where are we gonna stay? And what if we don't wanna travel as much as we thought we did? What if the grass is greener? What will we do then? Where will we stay while we're out there? Traveling. I know we could boondock just about anywhere. That would be the idea. What about campgrounds, and where do you boondock at, There's communities out there that have put out publications of like free to stay areas, public land, stuff like that. And honestly, I haven't done a whole lot of research into that, but I do know that they exist. There's ways to mitigate that problem, I guess. But it definitely was an initial fear I had, or a thought, a concern. And while we're out there on public lands per se, will I be able to protect us? Not just, hi buddy, not just from random animals, but peoples and strangers, Not everyone in the world's a good person. So will I be able to protect us in our household? Realistically, if someone really wants to get into an RV, they can. That's a big deal to think about for me, especially as the man of the household, right? I'm supposed to be the protector. And what if we get the police called on us? There's a thing in the traveling community of like the dreaded knock, right? The knock at night, where you think you're staying in the place you're allowed to be, or you're doing what you're supposed to do, but the police come knocking because you're not where you're supposed to be, or you're not doing what you need to do. I've never been to jail. Don't really want to go to jail. It's not exactly the idea that I have of traveling and exploring, is not traveling and exploring America's jails. I want to try and avoid that. So that was definitely a thought I had at some point of just like, wow, that could actually happen to us. And I really don't want that to happen. If you can't really tell by now, I tend to think worst case scenario, almost religiously. I don't think I'm pessimistic necessarily. I just try to think of solutions before the problem arises. So when it does happen, I kind of have a solution already planned out or an idea of where I'm going. I try to be 2 steps ahead instead of 3 steps back, right? But instead of focusing on what could go wrong, I want to try and be more optimistic and see what could go right. There's still a lot of work ahead of us, but I think we're further along now than we thought we would be at this time. If you'd have told me 5 years ago that I'd be looking at selling this house that we love, and that we owned a property, an RV, 2 motorcycles, and a truck, I would have thought you were crazy. But I guess who's the crazy one now? Luckily, I'm pretty good at adapting though. And I make things work even if it is a bit unconventional. Realistically, we're setting ourselves up that even if we fail, one of us can support us financially on a part-time job. Because the only thing that isn't completely outright paid for at this point is Shannon's motorcycle and the truck, which we plan to pay off both of those as soon as we sell this house. Meaning all we have to pay for is utilities, taxes, insurance, food, fuel, and whatever little extras we want. But again, this is the worst case scenario. If, the business doesn't work out or if sales stop. In the meantime, I'm learning to look past all the bad things and think about all the benefits. Things like making my own schedule, seeing my internet friends in person, even if it is just for a few days at a time, seeing relatives that honestly I go far too long without talking to. Sorry guys. And just the ability to explore at my own pace, not having to feel rushed to try and get a bunch of activities done in a short time period because we only have so much vacation time and we gotta go to work next week. So being able to just plan for 2 weeks and do a week worth of activities and just kind of spread it out more leisurely, I think that would be very positive. And I would love to say that I have no fear and that I don't doubt this decision, but I do, and I will, until I have experienced it for myself. And at that point, I'll gain knowledge and be able to overcome a lot of my what ifs based on the experiences that I've gained. Besides, it's not like I'll be alone. I'll have Shannon with me. And I always have friends and family that are just a quick phone call away, especially if I only need information. And honestly, we'll have you, our viewers, who give us stories of when you used to live this type of lifestyle, or give us suggestions for solutions, or even just a quick word of reassurance. I genuinely appreciate you for that. And if this is your first video on this channel, be sure to check out Shannon's Fears and Doubts. And if you like this one, hit the like button. If you want to see how we overcome these issues when they inevitably arise, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with those videos post. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe.
I've changed for the better this time. I thought I would never be fine. I strive just to say I'm alright. And for the first time in a long time, I'm alright.